Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to ZRC Zodiac Racing GT3 Season 1, Round 4, where we have now come full circle around the country, around the world, and now we find ourselves at the good old Silverstone. And might I say, I've got to do it correctly on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, knights of the round, welcome to Silverstone. We've got to be rather sophisticated on this one. My name is Stephen Koenig, and going and streaming the AMs tonight is Anushka. Anushka, welcome to Silverstone. Bit of tricky conditions where there's a little bit of rain that may come. There may be sunshine. It may get a little bit crazy out there. But Silverstone, out in the UK, gonna be a lot of fun. Are you excited for tonight's race, though? With everyone not quite sure what the conditions are going to be.
Yes, it should be a fun one.
And for anyone that doesn't know Anushka, she is streaming the AMs over on the channel, so feel free to jump over, like, subscribe, and go and also interact. It's always great to see. I've got 17 in the pro category, and I know that you have got, you said 19. 20. All right, so we are growing big time, especially in conditions that no one really actually likes the rain too much. Don't know why. But let's take a look at our championship standings. So with our AM standings, we have got first place is Wilfred Robertson. Second place is Savasov. Anton Lommers in third. Vietia Buerta, you're going to be quite happy about this one, is lying in fourth place, 2 points behind the likes of Anton Lommers. Then fifth place is Hunty Myberg, followed by Conrad Martin, Gunter Kruger, Lawrence Bronhurst, Herman Sipp, and Gerrit Jacobs going and rounding out our field in 10th place. Moving on to our pros, we have got Kieran Patterson leading out the field with Carl de Witt in second place, Darren Miller in third. Fourth is Johan van der Merwe, followed by Johan Krobler in fifth place. Then we've got SES House in 6th, 7th Mahath Musa, Harry Duplessis in 8th, 9th Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, and Andre Seradio rounding out our top 10 for our race this evening. And Anushka, let's actually take a look at who finished where for the last race, which was race 3. And we had Vietia Buerta coming out in first place, who was rather surprised that he got into the top running of the race. But I believe Vietia has got a problem this evening that he's contending with. Can you give us a bit of insight of the little bit of a hiccup that he's currently dealing with?
Yeah, he injured his ankle, his heel on Sunday, so he's been nursing that for a bit and still racing today.
So going and putting up a fight and also being a little bit sore on it. Now I've got to ask you, did he make the cup of coffee after the last round?
No, I did.
You made... Oh, okay, I've got to talk to Vietia on that one. That's for certain. But Vietia taking the win for the pros. Wilfred Robinson in second. Anton Lommers in third place. Now I know Anton was going and trying to figure out what's going to be better for him at that point. For our pros, though, was also a very interesting battle, with second and third being a very difficult one for guys to decide. But Kieran Patterson ultimately took the win, ran away from the field. Johan Krobler in second place, along with Carl de Witt. Johan Krobler actually has done a little bit of iRacing and said last week that he's kind of just feeling out ACC at this point. He's not going too hard into it anymore, so he's having to just try and dial things in, get that mindset, and get racing once again. He was actually racing a... How's this? He's jumped from racing a BMW GT3 to... last night he was in a Renault Clio. I did ask him, did he hit his head to go and decide that you want to drive a Renault? Apparently, people like Renaults. I'm not 100% sure on it. Anushka, do you like a Renault?
No, not really.
Not really. Okay, fair enough.
Personal preference.
If you had to pick the cars out this evening, what is going to be your car to go for? A McLaren, Ferrari, Merc, BMW, Porsche, you know, those type of cars, what would you go for?
Probably the Ferrari.
The Ferrari, the 296 with a little bit of an open back to it. Stunning, stunning car. And how's this one? A little bit of information on your side. It's a V6 turbocharged. So generally the old Ferraris ran V8s, and before then they ran V10s, which is basically bigger engines. They've actually gone a smaller motor with a turbo to get enough punch out of these cars to take them out towards the top of the field. So very good to see that drivers are trying something else, a little bit new, and also manufacturers thinking of how can they be a little bit more into fuel economy. But qualifying has started for our pros, and while I've got you here, Anushka, I want to say thank you once again on behalf of everyone, because you're streaming the AMS. So guys, jump over to the AMS chat and go and say how's it to Anushka, as there's quite a bit of racing that's going out on the circuit there this evening, and you don't want to miss it. It's awesome to see the guys are going to do it. And once again, Anushka, thank you very much, and fingers crossed that we got Viertier going to get himself across the line without any issues, and hopefully you get that cup of coffee.
Thank you. I'll chat to you a bit later.
Chat to you later. Thank you. All right, so Anushka, everybody, absolutely incredible stuff. A big thank you to her for live streaming our AM division that's happening this evening over at ZRC for round 4 right here at Silverstone. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. Glad to have you guys all in the grandstands, coming in and enjoying right here at ZRC. And I want to hear from everyone out there in the world, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it in the future. If you're watching in the future, how's that? I've got a bit of insight into what's going to happen. But feel free to go and let us know who you are supporting this evening. Now, tricky conditions. It is raining out there. It's 24 degrees, but we will see a little bit of light rain coming in. A lot of drivers say it's actually difficult. It's been killing off their tires a fair amount as they go racing around. But I'm going to put some car audio, because that's always a great thing to have. You don't want to listen to my boring old voice the whole time. You want to listen to the raw brute force power that comes out of these GT3s. Kieran Patterson, up to the sharp end of the field though, is currently leading the charge, which is great to see him really pushing as hard as he can with the PWSR car. Second place is Roncilliers, who is looking to try and make a bit of a charge up to the front. Then you've got third place, Carl DeWitt, been practicing a fair amount, trying to get himself all sorted out, just losing out that little bit of time. He is currently 0.1 of a second slower than Cilliers' last lap time. So we're looking at Kieran Patterson's 204.6 for the PWSR Ferrari, then Roncilliers with a 205.7, so nearly a second and a bit over the likes of Kieran Patterson. Then you got Caldervit in third. Hardy Boys coming in, which is a driver I don't get to see too often. So Hottest Boys, good to have you here. Michael Schultz coming in, joining in to have a bit of fun. But Jan van der Merwe goes and spoils the party. He jumps into second place for the ZRC Falcons and is now trying to get a little bit more drive to close down on Kieran Patterson. Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, that Porsche just hasn't been working in his favor. In practice, he was battling with the car, sliding it around, trying to keep it all in check, just not having too much fun with it. Jan Krobler coming across the line is Bago Krobler, and as I said, he was doing a little bit of Renault Clio racing yesterday, and then was racing in a LMDH car on Sunday, which is a little bit different to what he's used to this time round. Taking a look over to the grandstands though, going and putting in a bit of support to the team, a driver as well, and I can officially say the fastest voice in Assetto Corsa Competizione, Alan Patterson, going and shouting out to the PWSR team saying go guys go, as they fighting for the championship at this point. Hardy Boy is putting himself into second place with that last run, so he's doing a great job. Sean Benham is back once again. Michael Schultz lying in 9th. 10th is Darren Miller, who is on the charge. Kerry Duplessis in 11th. 12th, ACSAs, followed by Charles Darden, Tianis Buerta, Vessel Wooder, Keegan Saunderson, Ruan for the race, and Mark Hambry going and riding right at the back, but driving the Bentley. I've got to say, Mark, well done. Got the royal asphalt, and I think the king would be proud. I would say the queen, but unfortunately, bless her soul, she didn't get to see this moment, but I think she will be keeping an eye on it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have got 6 minutes left of the qualifying. A bit of rain coming down. It is going to get a little bit lighter. Drivers having to just try and figure out what's going to work. You can see the cars sliding around. I've actually got to ask a couple of the drivers what's going to be the plan with this wet weather. And a lot of drivers have opted for more of a hybridized setup. When I talk about hybridized, it's built to handle both the dry and the wet. So it's not a master in all of it, but it is a jack of all trades. That's something to keep an eye out for, as that's going to change the entire scope as the race continues. They got one mandatory pit stop in the race, and that can allow them to change the tires from dry to wet or wet to dry, or they can just leave the tires on as normal. They have to put 1 liter of fuel in at the moment for that pit stop to count, and be square in the pit box, because if you're not square in the pit box, forget it, you're toast, you're out of it. Kieran Patterson still putting in that quickest lap time and holding it at 2:04.6, an undefeated streak at this point, with Caldervit trying to come back at him with a 2:05.3. So a little bit closer this time, but Kieran seems to have got the wet weather with that Ferrari working well. And Hardy Boys also with that AF Corsa going and blasting around the circuit in 3rd place. Best lap time was a 2:05.4, so very close to Carl de Witt's time. Then you got Jan Krobler, who has closed down the distance, managing to get a 2:05.537. So he's trying to get back into those podium positions. At the moment, in 4th place is not a bad idea. And I know a lot of people are going to say, but why? Why is that not a bad idea? You're starting behind everyone. In the rain, it gets rather tricky, especially with colder tires. You can try and use the cars ahead of you as a braking point to understand, okay, well, there's a puddle there, avoid it. It does have a bit of a problem where you've got the spray kicking up onto the windscreen. That makes your visibility, well, gone and gone at that point, which we've seen a couple of drivers struggle with over the course of the racing season. I know that a couple of drivers are currently watching in the chats and watching from the grandstands can attest to it. I know Alan can attest to the driving in the wet weather. It's not easy to do, especially when you're trying to get very, very close to your competitors. That spray getting worse and worse and worse as time goes on. And, well, it just doesn't seem like the windscreen wipers do much at that point. Gabriel Melman coming in and saying, go ZRC. So we've got to go PWSR. We got to go ZRC. Are we starting to see a little bit of a team war out in the spectators? Well, I do think so. I think we're going to have a couple of guys getting a very, very excited time watching their teams, their friends, their drivers that are out there on the circuit. But I do want to point out, Alan is not in the seat tonight, and so is Gabriel not in the seat, and that is due to commitments and that, but still managing to tune in to keep an eye on their drivers and get that constant communication. So there is many, many more out there in the grandstands and out there on the pit wall, putting in a bit of support and keep it going. 1-2 currently for PWSR. 1st and 2nd, Kieran Patterson. Daniel the Hitman de Villiers up into 2nd place. Now trying to get that Porsche under check. Caldervit going and fighting it out. Currently in 3rd place with Hardy Boys trying to get a little bit more pace underneath them. But it does look like Caldervit going and losing out that little bit of time. He's going to wait it out, try and get the drive once again. While Hoddes is going and really giving it everything he's got to try and close down on the front pack. Ruan Cilliers jumps himself up into 3rd place, so he is absolutely giving it all that he's got in the Zodiac Samurai livery. Gotta say, stunning livery, going and taking inspiration from the old Japanese artistry and has done a fantastic job. There's little bits to the car that's worth going and taking a look at. I know a couple of the drivers are very, very keen-eyed on their on their artwork, their liveries, and it's one thing I've got to take my hat off to every single one of the drivers and designers out there. To do liveries is not an easy thing. I still remember, I'm going to chuck this one out there because I'm very proud of it, which was my second last ever livery I raced in a Assetto Corsa Competizione was Herbie. And we gave Alan Patterson the difficulty of making the silver, well, the chrome bumper of Herbie on a Porsche. So he managed to get it right. It looked amazing. And old Herbie will forever live in my heart. And we have got Ryan Ferreira going and saying, how's it? Which is great to see. Well, Ferreira going and putting in a bit of support. We got Peter Jan Pretorius out there, which is great to see the drivers and also the spectators. We got Chantel for you, and let's go, Van der Merwe, going and giving a bit of support to Mr. Van der Merwe, saying, right, you got to get going. Don't step on the cat when it crosses underneath the brake pedal, because that does happen, and we did have it happen. So, yeah. Alan going and saying, yep, did Herbie. That's it. That's still the livery to this day that I absolutely adore. Was little Herbie that I got to bring him back for iRacing, I think. Got to race the Porsche just to have the Herbie back. It was still that stunning livery. And a big thank you once again. I mean, that goes back a good couple of years. My heavens. Shingos. Well, that being said, though, Silverstone in the wet, going to be tricky conditions, going to be a monstrous fight for all the drivers. Charles Darden currently fighting out for the Project Vapor team, going and fighting it out. Cole DeWitt going and saying, good luck, Cole, enjoy. So you can see that Mr. DeWitt going and supporting his son as the checker flag has come out. Kieran Patterson still holding that first place. Daniel De Villiers in second. SES is in third. Ruan Cilliers currently out in fourth place, but just isn't up on his time. Jan van der Merwe, Hardy Boys goes and loses out. Calderwitz actually puts himself into third place. Cilliers trying to do everything he can. Krobler also pushing as hard as he can to fight it out. And yes, the crash test dummy car, that was the Aston Martin that we actually raced in the Kyalami 9-hour at the time. And I remember I got in trouble for it as well, because it was, well, you're not taking this seriously. That Aston, man, oh man. Wow, I feel old. Feel old. The two liveries that really made an impact. The crash test dummy in the Aston Martin, that was a stunning in the V8 Vantage, and then we also had the Herbie livery, but not like the liveries that we're seeing out here with some new stylings coming to it. We took a lot of inspiration from what was around, the British racing green and the crash test dummy on it, and fortunate enough we didn't crash the car too much. That being said, final car that still needs to cross the line is Johan Krobler. He's trying to get a little bit more pace out of the BMW M4 GT3, swinging the car in, and has got the ABS turned down a little bit more than planned, and also the traction control turned down a little bit. When I spoke to him, I said, why are you turning everything down? He said the understeer on the car is a bit tricky at this point, and he just wants to get that rotation in. He's going to opt to get it in the box. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we will be heading into the race soon enough, and we have got everyone really pumped for this race. Championship points on the line. Kieran Patterson so far out in front of the pack. Remember, he is currently leading the championship and running away with it at the moment. He's on 143 points. Second place is Carl DeWitt, who will be starting in third place. He's on 108. Darren Miller is actually in third place of the championship. He's a little bit further down the order, so he wants to try and get a little bit more pace, close down the distance. If you want to talk about a target to go for, that will be Carl DeWitt. Johan van der Merwe is sitting on 86 points, tying him with the likes of Johan Krobler. So Bego Krobler is going to have to think outside the box here, because he is tied for points, while SES Days is sitting on 82 points. And Mahath Musa, who isn't here this evening, is on 76 points. Kerry Duplessis, who is out on the circuit this evening, has an opportunity to jump himself up through the order. 9th place of the championship is Daniel de Villiers, who's on 55 points. So he will also take a jump up through the order. Andre Serradio not on the grid this evening. Charles Darden is, so he also has an opportunity. He's only 2 points behind Andre Serradio. Vincent Nell, unfortunately, not here. But then we have got Sean Benham in 13th position, sitting on 46 points, tied with Ruan Heineke and Ruan Cilliers at this point. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we make our way back to the circuit, getting information from Tim the cameraman and Jim as well, let's take a look at who is starting where. On looks like quite a dry circuit, so if you had a setup, well, it's just changed. Kieran Patterson out in first place with Daniel de Villiers taking second place currently. Calderwood in third, SES in fourth. Fifth is Rowan Cilliers, followed by Johan van der Merwe. Hardy Boys in seventh. Hardest Boys, I do apologize, not Hardy Boys. Why am I thinking WWE? Charles Darden in 8th, 9th is Johan Krobler, Ruan van der Race, Darren Miller, Sean Benham, Kerry Duplessis, Michael Schultz, Mark Hambry, Vessel Wooder, Tianus Buerta, Keegan Saunderson, and Eric Hustain rounding out our field this evening. But as Kieran Patterson leading out the charge, he has got his teammate lining up in second place. They have got the run on this point to go and defend against one another. And away they go. Kieran Patterson taking the charge. Daniel de Villiers going and tucking into that second place. Not going to fight too much. SESA's up into third place. Now has got the charge right behind the likes of Daniel de Villiers, who's going to play a little bit of defense at the moment. Ruan Cilliers ahead of Johan van der Merwe, who is going to push as hard as he can. And then got Hardus going and diving in around the outside. Backed out of it. Going to look for a cutback. Getting right underneath that McLaren. Going to try and use a bit of straight line speed. Van der Merwe moving across the nose though. Isn't going to let that happen as they go side by side. Fighting their way through. Kieran Patterson though did have a side-by-side moment with the likes of Daniel de Villiers, who had the toe. He had to pull out of it, and otherwise he was going to go for the overtake on the outside, which would compromise his drive to SES days, and that's not what he wants to do. Kieran and Daniel want to start focusing on the charge at this point. They want to close up the distance to one another and break away from SES days. Ruan Cilliers though is sitting in 4th place. Now the drivers did just do qualifying in the wet, and they're losing out. And taking a look from behind, Darren Miller on the charge. He gets an overtake on Ruan van der Race, and now is right behind Charles Darden and is right, who is close by to Johan Krobler. So Krobler buys loans himself, and take a look at Miller. What on earth has gone underneath him for this one? Because he has now closed up 2 positions off the start and now is on the chase onto the back of Johan Krobler. So Hybrid Academy is going to be keeping a very close eye on the mirrors, but Charles Darden is not going to give up just as yet. He's trying to fight back. Mark Hambry diving up on the inside of Ruan van der Race. That big Bentley going and getting it all sorted. Kerry Duplessis fighting it out with Benham a little bit further behind. So there is a race on the wire. Mark trying everything he can right behind Charles Darden. Does get bottled up. We do have Johan Krobler bailing into the pits though. So he's getting his first pit stop out of the way to focus on the charge and taking a bit of a gamble here. Because at the moment, it does look like the rain will stay away. But anything can happen in the world of motorsport. As we know, it's a cruel mistress sometimes. Tianus Buerta having a bit of a problem. He's dropped down the order. There he is. Oh, my heavens. Buerta losing out and now going for a roundabout way. So let's see what happened to the McLaren. Did he have a snap oversteer? Or was there a bit of a Max Verstappen moment between himself and the big Mercedes? Turn it in, tuck it in. All looking okay. Runs out wide. Oh, over the curb. Upset the rear. Jump around. And that is Tianus Buerta into the wall, taking major impact to the side of his car. And unfortunately, frustration will be kicking in as well underneath that helmet. It's unfortunate. It's one of those things, that little lift, just enough to break the aero underneath him, will cause him to get a little bit upset. Charles Darden, though, going in, fighting out with Mark Hambry as he tries to close down the distance. Mark doing everything he can to get onto the back of that Ferrari. 296 runs out a little bit wide, trying to take as much of the circuit as possible. A little bit too tight that time around, loses out the drive to Ruan van der Race that closes up right behind him. Sean Benham managing to open up distance to Kerry Duplessis, who's got Michael Schultz right behind him. Wesselwood dealing with Keegan Saunderson, but Eric Hustain and Carl de Wit are racing nose to tail with one another, so they're going to be having a great time. Back up to the front of the order, 6th and 7th place, Darren Miller and Charles Darden trying to come back at him. Darden looks up on the inside, couldn't get past, backs out of it. It's going to be thinking, what next can I do to fight out with Miller? Miller seems to be a little bit more comfortable with the wet weather, well, the dry weather compared to the wet. The Porsche a little bit put together, where Charles Darden seems to be a little bit more compromised at this point to Mark Hanbury, who is looking all hooked up down the straight. So he's having a grand time, losing it through the corners though, so maybe he just hasn't got enough pressure on that front nose to keep himself going. Johan Krobler though has come off the circuit, which is not often we get to see Mr. Krobler going and losing out the rear. And he was chasing Van der Merwe at the time, not close enough for any aero wash to throw him off the circuit. Maybe just an upset rear. Oh no, touched the grass on the inside. And then it was just understeer city, left, right. Oh, just keeps it out of the wall. Breathes a sigh of relief there, but not going to be having a great time trying to pull himself back at this point. So, as we catch up back to the rest of the racing, Charles Darden, Ruan van der Race, so doing everything they can. Mark Hanbury managing to get round Charles Darden and gets up a position there. So the big Bentley ahead of the 296, which has caused Charles Darden to get a little bit of a difficult time with Ruan van der Race right around him as well. So this is going to be a race of nutrition at the moment. Taking a look at the lap times though, Daniel de Villiers putting in the fastest lap time of the race, a 1:59.755 as his quickest lap time. So he is really focusing on the charge to try and claw his way up through the order once again. Going to be a monstrous run for our drivers this evening, as they've got that one mandatory pit stop that can make or break the race. So the drivers are going to have to think what's going to work best for them. And then you've got the likes of the... Well, you're going to have a difficult time with the rain that may or may not come. Now, drivers have been racing around, practicing in the rain and in the greasier weather, but this time around, it's all sunny skies, 27 degrees track temperature, and the weatherman is looking like he's going to put away the umbrella for this race at the moment, because in 30 minutes' time, we've only got overcast weather, which is general for the likes of Silverstone out here in the UK. Charles Darden keeping just ahead of Ruan van der Race, who's going to look up on the inside, backs out of it. He's going to keep it into the slipstream and move his way around the corner. Fight for 4th and 5th place is Hottest Boys versus Ruan Celius. So Ruan has to really figure out how is this going to work out for him. He's going to pull out his inner samurai to deal with Hottest, who is right up against the rear bumper, trying to figure out where is it going to be the make or break moment. Both are in a Ferrari, so both have got the same BOP. It's now down to setup choice and who is more comfortable in the car for a longer duration. As the fuel starts to burn off, this is going to change up the race. We've seen a couple of cars pull into the pits and get their pit stops out the way. Carl de Wit, Johan van der Merwe and Johan Krobler have done it, but unfortunately one retirement so far, and that is Tianus Buerta, who unfortunately had that monster of an accident earlier on. And unfortunately, it seems like the damage was irreversible on the car, and he opted just to park it and go and support the rest of his team. Wesselwood getting ahead of Michael Schultz. Michael losing out in that Zodiac Martini Racing color scheme, and Wesselwood going and powering his way through. The big Mercedes doing a phenomenal job at this point. Michael Schultz having to keep up the pace. Keegan Saunderson, we don't get to talk about him too often, but good to see Keegan out there on the circuit. He's keeping ahead of Eric Kirstein and Carl de Witt at the moment. So the Lamborghini fighting it out and trying to power away from the McLarens. And as he's in a little bit of a lone fight at the moment, side by side through Maggot and Beckett, just losing out the drive. Eric Kirstein a little bit more comfortable, taking a more of aggressive line. And you've got Keith Sorensen just going and backing out of it, saying, look, going to aim for a bigger fight at this point. So this is going to be a proper run as they fight their way through. So this is going to be a little bit of a chase for the guys, as Ron Cilliers, in a massive fight with Hottest Boys, has now allowed Darren Miller to close up on the fight as well. Miller's been putting in some extremely quick lap times. At the moment, he is a second faster than both cars ahead of him, and now has to try and figure out how to get around Mr. Boys over here. So while Hottest seems to be focusing on the front of his car, there we go. Miller putting his nose up on the inside. Now will be backing a little bit out. Going to look for a cutback on the Ferrari. And that's going to have to force Hottest to start watching his review mirrors. Hottest either needs to get past Cilliers as quick as possible, where Cilliers just has to watch his review mirror. But the one person that doesn't have to is Darren Miller, as he goes and tries to bait for the inside line, backs out of it, just trying to force Hottest into a bit of a mistake at this point, constantly sitting in the wing mirror, hoping that he can just go and take a bit of attention off the front, miss out a braking marker, and go for a bit of an overtake. So Miller has now got onto the back of the train. It's going to be a bit of a focus, because where is the tires drop off going to come into? Remember, these drivers are on a bit of a hybridized setup. They built for rain and for dry, so they're a jack of all trades, master of none. Or they've gone for a full dry setup, and if wet weather comes down, well, that's going to end up in a very tricky situation. So Miller getting a little bit of a tank slapper on the way through, losing out that little bit of drive. But Mark Hambry has also closed down the distance. Actually, last lap was quicker than Miller, so keep an eye out on the Big Bentley closing down. We may have a 4-car train starting to build up for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th place at this point. So keep a very, very close eye on that action. A little bit further down, we do have a bit of a fight. Vessel Wooder keeping ahead of Eric Kirstein, who's closed down the distance, but Michael Schultz is right onto the back of him. Michael tries to look for the inside line, trying to bait a move out of Eric Kirstein just ahead of him, but Kirstein's going to keep a focus on the charge and go on the defensive. Back up to the front end of the order. 6th place, Darren Miller up against Hard Boys, and Cilliers has made a mistake. Cilliers is off the circuit, losing out. Would be 3 positions at this point. Watched his mirrors a little bit too long, and unfortunately I think he outbraked himself there. Let's actually see if we can go back about 30 seconds and find out what exactly went on with that car. So we're going to jump in from the helmet cam as they fight their way around the order. And a little bit over the dirt, over the rumble strip, couldn't bring it back, straightens out, lifts off the throttle, tries to slowly bring the car to a controlled drive, and just understeering. The McLaren starting to feel a little bit like a tank, losing out 3 positions, going 4 if he couldn't have get the drive out of the corner to keep ahead of Charles Darden, which he just manages to do. But that moves Boys up into 4th place, Miller into 5th. At the start of the race. Taking a look at who's gained, who's lost at this point as we go through the order. Kieran Patterson exactly where he started, so having a great run out there, maximizing his points. Daniel De Villiers currently in 2nd place, has lost a little bit of time on Kieran Patterson, and that's allowed SES Ace, who's moved up 1 position. He started in 4th, he's now in 3rd to make up a bit of time. Boys going up 3 positions. He started in 7th. Miller, though, has been on a comeback story of note. He's up 6 positions and is lying in 5th position. But Mark Hambry says, hold my drink. Watch this. Started in 15th position. He's up 9 positions from where he started. Cilliers is down 2 positions. He is lying in 7th place at the moment. Charles Darden is exactly where he started. Sean Benham has also gained up some time. He's gone up 3 positions from where he started. Ruan van der Race is back where he started in 10th place. Vesselwater up 5 positions. Eric Kirstein up 7 positions, but is fighting out with Kerry Duplessis, who jumps on the curb, loses out, spins out. Caldervit, Michael Schultz, they both get past him. Kerry Duplessis, that GSR Racing, the GSR team going and hooking the sausage curb, and that threw him out of the run. So he's lost out that little bit of drive. Not the way he wanted things to go. But the race is still a long time to go. 41 minutes and 12 seconds remaining of the race. And it's an all-out fight up and down through the order. Vesselwater dealing with Eric Kirstein at the moment, with Caldervit right behind. Cole does look for the inside line, backed out of it. Was thinking of maybe sending it, but Eric Kirstein sends it up on the inside of Vesselwater. Vessel getting a little bit of a love tap between the two. Does come back on the circuit, and Caldervit nearly getting a Mercedes right through his door, and Vessel just going and giving a quick flash saying, look buddy, rubbing paint wasn't the greatest idea, but needs to put his head back down on the fight. Cole is going to try and look up on the inside. He will back out of it this time around, allow Vessel to get a little bit out of shape on the outside, and that has allowed Michael Schultz to come into play. So Vessel, by losing out that little bit of drive and compromising Caldervit, he has allowed Michael Schultz to get into the fight and close down on them as well. The Porsche getting a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit, now getting onto the hangar straight. So it is a 3-car train for 12th, 13th and 14th position. Eric Kirstein has checked out of that train and will be focusing on his charge. Caldervit going to go around the outside of Vesselwater. Can he make it stick though? It's going to be a tough one. Runs out very, very wide, trying to bring it back. And take a look. Vessel's not going to back down from this fight. Side by side they go. Vessel will have the advantage into the right-hander, just not having the same drive as Caldervit, who took a deep breath at that point to try and keep a little bit more drive. Vesselwater now has to contend with Michael Schultz right up against the back of him for 14th position, and Michael just getting that tank slapper once again through the order. This is our closest battle on circuit. Second closest battle is actually 8th, 9th and 10th, with Charles Darden, Sean Benham, Ruan for the race, and Ruan Cilliers as well. So it's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th that are fighting it out between the two. Vesselwater getting ahead of Michael Schultz. Once again, just trying to make up some time at the moment. But pit stops all coming into play for Van der Merwe and Johan Grobler. They will be focusing on the charge right the way through the race. They've done their pit stops. They don't want to lose out any more time. They're hoping that the weather stays as it is. 38 minutes to go. In the next 30 minutes, we're still sitting with optimum weather. It is getting a bit cooler though. 26 degrees out on circuit. So the drivers will be contending with the tires. Getting a little bit cooler than planned. So hopefully they've got their tire pressures just right for the race. They still have that mandatory pit stop from 1st all the way down to 16th that can change the race completely for them, as they can change tires or just do a straight up refuel and that's it. Get out and get racing once again. So there is that to play with, while the likes of Van der Merwe and Grobler don't have that option anymore. They will have to figure out a bigger plan on that one. Michael Schultz keeping right into the toe of Vesselwater, as Vessel defending that inside line. Phenomenal driving on that part. Just going and holding that inside line. It does force the opponent to go on the outside. Does compromise your drive on the exit. So you got to be so careful and hope that you've bottled up the drive on your competitor. But take a look. Michael Schultz is going to try go around the outside. Backs out of it. Second guess is not going to be his plan. Back up to 5th and 6th as Darren Miller and Mark Hambry have now closed up to one another. Mark doing a phenomenal job onto the back of Miller, who's looking to try and close the 2.5 second gap to Hardus right ahead of him. So Hardus needing to just keep a positive drive at the moment. He is currently 4 seconds behind SESAs, but does not want to get sucked into this fight between the like of Mark Hambry and Darren Miller. It's Asphalt Racing versus PWSR. Michael Schultz, though, has spun out by the looks of it. He landed up with a bit of a problem. Just saw yellow flags and having Jim going, well, Tim screaming in my ears that there was a bit of a problem. So let's see what happened. Closed right onto the back of Vessel Wooder. Does look on the inside. Vessel tries to come back on him. Oh, outbraked himself right and royally. Hooked the curb. Completely missed the corner. Went from the likes of the UK, and he decided he wants to go visit Scotland at that point. So completely missing out the run. Will be thinking, how can he get it back? The tyres will be hurt. And Keegan getting past saying, well, thank you very much, but I'll take that. Along with Kerry Duplessis going and moving up through the order. Track starting to open up a little bit more now as they fight their way around the circuit. And the drivers needing to figure out what's going to work for them. We saw later pit stops, the latest being under the 2-minute mark. So let's take a look as Charles Darden and Sean Benham, as they fight their way through. They have gone through the likes of Stowe into Club, but it does look like Benham is doing everything he can to keep on to the back of Charles Darden as they fight their way through turn 10, turn 11, and onto the main straight. The Hamilton Straight, the newly named for the 7-time world Formula 1 champion, and down into turn 12, which is into Abbey, right into Farm Curve, where you'll see a lot of the drivers coming out of the pits having to really figure out on their braking markers not to get caught out into the loop. A very difficult part of the circuit where you've got to try and modulate your throttle, not to get too early on the throttle, but you don't want to lose out too much time by losing out a bit of drive. Down the Wellington Straight into the toe, trying everything he can at this point, going hard onto the brakes, into turn 17, into Brooklands. And Charles Darden just keeping enough pace through Luffield. And now through turn 18, keep a real positive drive on the rear through Woodcote. You want to keep some power onto that rear diff to ensure that you're not getting too much loss of drive as they fight their way through. So, bit of an interesting sight of the circuit right here at the likes of Silverstone. Mark Hambry closing down the distance on Darren Miller. And Miller seems to be losing out through Maggots and Beckett. Maybe the car just not as settled as he would like compared to Mark Hambry. Mark just managing to close down that distance a little bit more. Miller able to get the drive out of Maggots and Beckett onto the hanger straight. Does sweep across the nose of Mark Hambry. Couldn't get it all right there. Keegan Saunderson, though, yellow flags, and he has lost it. And he has lost it through Cops. So he's lost it through there. Let's take a look at what happened. I think maybe just too much rear rotation. As you see Mark Schultz pulling into the pits. Getting nice and close to the barrier. Not losing out too much time there, but this is where it gets tricky. This is where mid-engines tend to battle a fast right-hand sweep. There's the rear. Does close onto the brakes to try and bring the car back. And unfortunately, that just... it gets that horrible little slide. You're then running onto the traction control, and it gets that slow slide where you can hear it just battling its way through, and you got to wait till it comes to a complete stop before you're allowed to exit the ride. Cole right onto the back of Eric Hussein, the two fighting out. The Hybrid Academy going and duking out with Zodiac Racing and having a great run there. Johan Krobler getting onto the inside of Michael Schultz will be looking for the overtake. And as we've seen, Krobler has not a bad run in terms of pace, but that spin did cost him a fair amount of time. Michael will keep on to the back of him. The two of them have come to blows at Brands Hatch this time around. You've got the likes of Michael who's going to back out of the fight. He's not going to push too hard at this point and focus on the long-term race. There's still 32 minutes to go for it. Miller fighting out with Mark Hambry. He's watching the mirrors left and right, and you can be sure in constant communication with the team saying, right, where is he? Where's he making up time? I need to figure this stuff out. And Mark Hambry at the moment is 0.1 of a second faster than Darren Miller on that last lap. Both going and averaging a 1:59.5, but the last lap, Mark Henry managed to do a 1:59.4 to go and beat that. And it seems like lap times are starting to average out there, except for Kieran Patterson, who, for some odd reason, no one's told him that he's currently leading the race by about 8.2 seconds. He managed to put in his fastest, second fastest lap time of the race. His best lap time was a 1:58.4, which is incredible time. He managed to do a 1:58.5 that time round. Second place, Daniel de Villiers, doing a 1:59.7, so he's getting into a nice comfortable rhythm. SCS lying in third place with a 1:59.6. Hardas running in fourth place. Fifth is Mark Hambry, who got ahead of the likes of Miller, so we missed that overtake just. And let's see if we can try and go back. It looks like under braking. Oh, and Miller just getting a bit of a snap oversteer that time around, having to pull the Porsche back. So I wonder if those rears starting to battle a little bit more than planned on the Porsche. He's having to dial it back a little bit and focus on the charge once again. Maybe this is the time to start contemplating when the pit stops are going to become more and more valuable to go racing, as there's only 31 minutes left of the race. 24 minutes have gone past in the race. Keegan Saunderson off once again. So Keegan has got yellows out. And which corner was that he got caught at? Through Farm Curve. He went and got caught up. So let's take a look. Roughly about a minute. Oh, that rear on the Lambo, not a happy camper at all, going and losing it out once again. So we're back down the replay. This is roughly about 30 seconds before we joined in on him. And let's see what happened exactly when that rear must have snapped out underneath him. Lamborghini just not playing nice this time around. Over the curb, seemed a bit more settled there. Not too much of a problem. Getting close to the marbles. Going to start getting a little bit of dirt on those tires. That's going to slide him around a bit. He's having to try and contend with it as they power their way through into the corner. Oh, same corner that went and caught him out. And he's pulled into the pit saying, look, rears are a little bit done and dusted here. But if Keegan can keep up the pace, if he can finish, he's going to score some valuable points for his championship. So at the moment, he needs to just keep in the race no matter what. At least see that checkered flag. That will score him some good points for the championship and help him up through the order. Carl de Witt and Eric Kirstein are fighting it out. Eric Kirstein currently lying in 19th in the championship, where Carl is lying up in second place. So Carl's not in a comfortable position at this point, a little bit too far back, and he still needs to do a pit stop. Ran for the race for Johan van der Merwe. They've all done their pit stop. So Van der Race has done his pit stop, Van der Merwe has done his pit stop, Krobler has done his pit stop, Michael Schultz has done his pit stop, and Keegan Saunderson has done his pit stop, just popping out right behind our leader Kieran Patterson. But this is rather helpful for him, as he can now start playing with his team. He can start running into that toe and working with them in the fight. That's where it's all going to come down to the wire. Try and hang with your teammates. At least let them pace you around instead of being by yourself. Because once you're alone, you're going to have to start trying to figure out how you can keep yourself engaged the whole time. Now, the mental strain that comes into it, racing alone is a lot harder than racing in a pack. At least in a pack, you have someone to pace yourself with. You want to get ahead. You're wanting to keep a challenge. When you're all by yourself, you're going to have to start looking at what to do. And that's when you start looking at your lap times. Try and average a lap time. Try and aim for a target lap time. Much like in the world of endurance racing, you want to focus on that as they fight their way through. Eric Kirstein just keeping ahead of Carl de Witt, who's doing a phenomenal job at this point to hang on to the back of Eric Kirstein, but not quite the job he wanted to be dealing with, as he was a little bit further up through the order as they claw their way around the circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, remember this is our pro server for the Zodiac racing community, GT3 Season 1, Round 4, right here at Silverstone. We do have a AM at the moment that is running, where we have got the guys going and enjoying it. We do have a couple of people in the grandstands there, with Gabriel Melman going and saying good luck, and also Alan Law Metal Panda Gaming saying how's it over in that side. So good to see the guys having a bit of fun out there, enjoying themselves with the race. In the AMs, we've got Carl Schultz currently in first place, with Wilson in second place, Vietia Buerta in third place. And to just chuck it out, they are currently racing in wet conditions. So we talk about the weather being completely random. Our pros are in optimum dry conditions. Give it everything you got. While our AMs, well, they got trial by fire at this point. They are stuck in the wet, trying to figure out what's going to be the workout strategy for them, as it does look like Eric Kirstein's going to go side by side with Caldervit. They are going to run door to door with one another. A little bit of argy-bargy between the two, and it does look like Kirstein is going to try to come back at him. Does dive on the inside, both running off circuit. Play nice, boys, play nice. This is not what you want to have. The two of them still going argy-bargy, both ending up in the weeds. Caldervit, Eric Kirstein, naughty on both, I will say. Naughty on both. Eric Kirstein does get the jump ahead of Caldervit as he retakes a position, but yeah, I'm gonna call it there and say both started getting a little bit elbows out, and both unfortunately learned losing that little bit of time. Not quite the racing that you want to have, and a little bit of that red mist coming into play between them. And I know that you got the teams that will be talking to the drivers saying, hey, listen, dial it back a little bit, focus on what you need to do. Currently, an interesting little fight. Mark Hambry in run for the race. Now, they've both completed their pit stops. They will need to try and claw their way through and figure out what's going to work out for them as they fight their way around the circuit. They are now racing for position with no pit stops. Back up to Caldervit and Eric Kirstein. Now, we did see this get a little bit spicy. Has Carl gone and dialed it back a little bit? Has Eric Kirstein dialed it back a little bit? I'm sure both of them got a little bit of a stern talking to of, hey, listen, it's still a long race. You got 25 minutes. Oh! Eric Kirstein tried coming across the nose of Caldervit, and unfortunately, that caused a bit of contact and a bit of a spin out on it. It's very, very close racing, but just slightly coming across the nose, and that was just enough to upset the rear of the McLaren, spinning him out. And Eric Kirstein will be going and seeing a little bit of red there. He will have to try and dial it back. Just closing on a door that wasn't quite firmly closed. I mean, there was a pinky toe still sitting for Cole at this point. He does pull into the pits. That's going to allow Vesselwood to keep on going. So Eric Kirstein's tyres are a little bit shot at this point. He's going to have to dial it in and say, all right, let's work on the pressures. Let's think about this. 25 degrees, track temperature. You've got 24 minutes left. But if the weatherman is starting to tell the story here, we've got a little bit of rain coming in. Well, it said 30 minutes, but that may change very, very soon, because the clouds are starting to get darker and darker right over here at Silverstone. And, well, the king is on the throne. So anything can happen at this point. So it's going to be a little bit of a run between them. And even taking a look over to the grandstands, Jan Kleinen saying unfortunate contact, but good battle nonetheless. And Alan Patterson is giving a bit of the thoughts I said. A little bit too much of argy-bargy action between the two. You know, we're sharing paint once or twice, fine. But you've got to think about the long-term race and how you're going to get to it at the end. So a bit of argy-bargy action. Unfortunate contacts did change up the entire scope of the race for the drivers. And a bit of an interesting one. Kieran Patterson. What on earth happened to Kieran? Kieran's in the pits. And he's got no tyres. He's got nothing underneath that car. Hey, whoa, hold on. Our leader, who was dominating the race, is now in the pits. He had a disconnect. Kieran Patterson had a disconnect and is now stuck in the pits. That has given it to Daniel de Villiers, who is now on the charge. Daniel de Villiers has taken first place due to his teammate having a disconnect. Oh my heavens, how this race has changed, evolved, and really gone for it. Oh, I think Kieran had a disconnect, but it's not often you get to see a car without tires and suspension and, well, just looking like it's missing majority of the pieces, especially in a set of Corsa Competizione. But something's gone on with that car, and he is in the pits, dropped way down the order. That's not what he wants, but Daniel de Villiers is going to say, well, it's unfortunate, but, you know, I'm in for the fight to the championship right now, and can't really cry over spilt milk, so I'm going to keep going because SESA is right behind me, 2.5 seconds behind. Hottest Boys lying in third place. Fourth place is Darren Miller. Aaron Cilliers in fifth. Sixth is Charles Darden, followed by Sean Binham, Carl DeVette, Vessel Ruder, Kerry Duplessis. Mark Hambry is keeping ahead of Ruben for the race in 12th position. 13th is Johan van der Merwe, followed by Jan Kroblet, Michael Schultz, Eric Kirstein, Keegan Sorgensen, and Kieran Patterson, who is still waiting in the pits. And wow. I mean, if Kieran is out the car, if he's retired the car, I'd love to talk to the guy and find out what happened. Just give us a bit of an insight, or someone from the team to just give us a bit of what happened, because that's changed up for the front running of the order. Eric Kirstein with a drive-through penalty. So Eric Kirstein got a drive-through penalty. That's not going to help him. It has been a race to forget for Kirstein. And he's in the wall. He's lost the rear, and that put him into the wall. So Eric Kirstein, unfortunately, just having a bit of a nightmare time. Let's take a look at what happened. Came around the corner, bit of snap oversteer. No, all looking okay there. Maybe running out a little bit too wide. It just looks like he lost steering completely, and unfortunately the car. So a bit of mechanical issues coming in for Eric Kirstein after everything. A race to forget on his part, but I'm sure will be dialing himself back in and going and watching the teammate battle of Jan Bego Hrubler, who is back out on the circuit. Kieran Patterson has got his wheels back. They have found it. They went to the BMW and they've taken it out of there. You know, BMW stands for borrowed my wheels. Well, he's borrowed someone's wheels right there to get it back on the circuit and is waiting to go back out on track as well. And you can be sure the team will be starting to think back of how can they save a bit on the pits and how they can try and bring him back through the order. That is going to hamper a bit of confidence. I don't think that's going to hamper any part of his championship, though. He's got some big points in the bag, so he has got a lot to play with, and one bad race is not going to hurt him in this. But Daniel de Villiers, though, who's lying in first place, has got his backside in the pound seat and looking to try and make his way through. So far, he is sitting in 9th position in the championship. Coming in first is 50 points. That will jump him way up the order, ahead of Kerry Duplessis, ahead of Myeth Musa, and getting closer towards the like of SESA, Jan Krobler. He will have a big chance. So the focus goes down to what Daniel de Villiers can do out there. So is Darren Miller, who's up into 3rd place. So Miller, who is currently a little bit further down the order in the championship, if he finishes in 3rd place, this is going to work out rather well for him. So, as they say, another man's misfortune is caught up. And I see Kieran Patterson saying disconnected. Oh, Sean Benham also losing the rear, as it looks to have he's come to blows with Charles Darden. Well, Kieran, if you can hear me out there, out in the pit box, it would be wonderful to chat to you and just get a bit of your thoughts into it. My heart goes out to you, bud. It really does go out to you. I mean, it's just, you had an invisible squirrel run across the circuit and smash your car to pieces, if I can put it that way. And, oh, Charles Darden came back on, tried getting himself sorted, and Sean Benham into the door. That is the contact between the two. and that caused a little bit of a situation there. So, but Kieran Patterson is staying out. Well, his car isn't completely retired. They're still going to keep it within the entry, which will score a bit of points. 17th place does score points. So let's see how that's going to work out for him during the race. So the PWSR down one car this time round, but hopefully we will get to have a chat with the drivers and see how they've worked through it. Alan Patterson saying, unfortunately, fiber having a bit of an issue that side, so they have now reset the fiber to try and get things going once again. So it's unfortunate, really is unfortunate. But Kieran, box is open if you would like to come through. It's always an honor to chat to one of the pros in South Africa, and considering your teammates are running first and second at this point, it's great stuff. Hardest boys in the pits, along with Ruan Cilias. He has now pulled into the pits, so Cilias now into the pits. That is going to allow Benham and Charles Darden, who had earlier contact that did break the cars a bit. They're going to still keep it going. You can see there's a bit of a second-hand Ferrari nose on the front of Sean Benham at this point, as he's just driving it through, trying to focus on getting the pit stops as we down into the last 16 minutes of the race. And this is going to change things up. Charles Darden, though, would have the impact on the side, so he would have side aero damage on the right hand, and we'll be trying to figure out how he can keep that going. That does upset how the cars maneuver their way around the circuit. They do slide around a lot more. You've got a bit of understeer, oversteer. They become a lot more unpredictable, and you're going to have to move your braking markers a little bit to where you're turning in, how much damage has been truly done to these cars. Well, especially Sean's car, I think he's taken a fair hit onto it. You can see the steering a little bit skew. He's having to try and correct it. So that tells me a bit of front-end suspension damage has impacted his race. Still opening a gap, and now is holding third place. Caldervit lying in fifth, so he will need to get into the pits, but that will allow SES Days at this point, who is 8 seconds behind, to be able to close down the distance and look to try and get past him. Vesselwater lying in 7th position. 8th is Hardest Boys, along with Harry Duplessis lying in 9th position. 10th, Mark Hanbury, who's fighting it out with Thunder Raced at this point. The two of them slugging it out as hard as can be and really taking the fight to one another. Charles Darden, though, goes off circuit, and that is going to compromise him. He loses out to Caldervit on the way through. So did he pick up a bit of understeer? He does pull into the pits just as we cut to the replay. So Tim showing us the replay of what happened, as he was right behind Sean Benham, doing everything he can to try and catch up to Sean. Will it be enough, though? Oh, just gets a tank slapper. That's what I was talking about, the car becoming very unpredictable with that aero damage. Carl are going to be quite happy with that. That does move him up into 4th place. And Charles Darden saying, look, tyres are a bit shot, car's a little bit hurt, the car's a bit unpredictable. Let's get it in the box, let's get it sorted out. So SES Ace has moved himself up into 6th position, and he will be on the chase to Carl just ahead of him. But remember, SE has completed his pit stop, so he is in the pound steep, and that's how it goes. And just taking a look, Alan Paz saying that Kieran is spotting for his team, which is good to hear. But Alan, you also invited. It's always on to have the fastest, well, I would say the world's fastest voice in ACC to give us a bit of an understanding. But he is going and flying out. So it's called Commentary Box Waiting Room in ZRC. Otherwise, if you just go over to I don't know, the Pro Division or Pro-Am Division, I can pull you up from there as well. So if you don't see the commentary box, which is right up at the top of the Discord, it says Waiting Room. If you can't see that, just move over to the Pro Division or Pro-Am Division in the Discord and can pull you up. It will always be an honor to chat to you. on, especially with the team doing a phenomenal job as it stands. The leader of the PWSR team helping pioneer the run down to the wire, and having the first and second at the moment fighting it out. Good to see that Kieran going in saying, look, had a problem with this one. He's going to watch out for his team, Daniel de Villiers and Miller, who are up ahead and are in a chance to score some valuable points for their championship as they fight their way through. Mark Hambry and Ruin for the Race are fighting out between the two of them, so they are still going and doing everything they can to claw their way out of the fight. Mark Hambry in 9th place, 10th is Ruin for the Race. Still 17 cars circulating. We've had a couple of retirements. Unfortunately, that does happen in the world of racing, and especially at the top echelons of racing, mistakes can be absolutely detrimental to one's race as it goes on. Mark Hambry, though, losing out the drive, and that is going to allow the Ferrari of Ruin for the Race to close down the distance to him, and will be getting right up against the rear wing, hoping that he can try and get past. So it is going to be a big run as they claw their way through the order, trying to get right on to the back of that big Bentley. Van der Race is not going to back down from this fight. He is going to keep onto the back of Mark Hambry. They are the closest fight currently out on circuit and will be looking on the charge. Both have done their mandatory pit stops, but not having the same run compared to the front end of the field. It's all about consistency at this point. But with 10 minutes to go, the final bit of the race may have a little bit of drizzle coming down, so that may have drivers a little bit concerned of how the cars are going to feel. And if you've gone and hammered the tires, well, you're about to get it in the knot. Keegan Saunderson, though, what happened to him? What happened to Keegan? He has stopped on the edge of the circuit. And let's try and go inside the Lamborghini of the PWSR car. Down into third gear. Gets a tank slapper off into the dirt. Brings it back. Oh, collision with the wall. Swings it around. And yeah, car taking a fair amount of damage there. And opting instead of getting it all sorted, just try and get it sorted out. I really do hope they can get that car back out on circuit and get him out once again. He's been having a bit of a nightmare race, but the zero quit in him at the time has been really inspirational for a lot of drivers. That's the thing you've got to do in these type of races, is you've got to go and keep driving no matter what. You've got to dig deep, even in the worst of times. It's just one of those things I keep saying. You always want to see the checkered flag no matter what. So, fight for third place. Sean Benham, who's dealing with some damage on his car, catching up to Cole DeWitt in the McLaren. That is actually all fine. And Cole needing to still do a pit stop, with Benham needing to do a pit stop as well. But Benham's got that damage on the car that will either go and make the pit stop a little bit longer than planned, or he's going to opt to not go and fix that damage and will be focusing on just closing up, because he is still keeping fairly consistent times. He's down to a 2:01 on that last lap, but that does make sense with the amount of damage on the car. 6th and 7th place, Vesselwood and Hardus going and fighting each other out. Vessel runs out wide. That's going to allow Hardus around the outside, around the inside. Gets it beautifully locked in, and that Ferrari looking absolutely perfect at this point, where the likes of Vessel just going and pulling into the pits. He's like, well, lost out that drive, but I can get you on trying to do my pit stop. He wants to keep ahead of this man over here, Kerry Duplessis, who is now fighting out. Kerry going and focusing on his charge through the order, and will be looking to fight it out with the rest of the field. Mark Hambry still fighting out in 8th place, with Rian van der Race in 9th place at the moment, as they have completed their pit stops. But with 7 minutes and 43 seconds to go. Let's go through the order as Daniel de Villiers currently leading out the field. Darren Miller in second, so PWSR first and second. Third place is Caldervit, followed by Sean Benham, along with SES Hayes, Hardest Boys, along with Kerry Duplessis. Mark Hanbury in 8th place. 9th is Rian van der Race. Ruan Cilias in 10th position. Charles Darden down in 11th. Johan van der Merwe in 12th. 13th position is Johan Grobler, along with Wesselwoode. Michael Schultz in 15th. 16th is Keegan Sorensen, and Kieran Patterson rounding out the field in 17th at the moment. But we do know that he is sitting back and spotting his team. So due to a disconnect that took him out of the race, he has now gone onto the pit manager's role and going to change the hat for that one. So taking a look over to our AMS, which is being broadcasted, so don't miss out, guys. Head over to the AMS and go and show a bit of a support there, as Anton Lummers has landed up with a disqualification. I think he's sped in the pits, and there's only 2 cars left there still needing to do their mandatory pit stop. We got Krosels in first place, Savasov in second place, who still need to do the pit stop, and we got Wilson in third place with Vietia in fourth, Conrad Martin in fifth. So the guys are fighting it out in the AM and in the wet, while we are having some huge amount of dry at this point of dry racing. Paolo Stills saying Daniel making it happen again. Yes, but this time he was not the one to take him out. No, this time he hired a contract to make some positions, but Daniel de Villiers doing a phenomenal job on it, and Paolo going and just putting in a bit of support for a fellow friend out there on the circuit. No one likes to jinx their teammates, and it does get into a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation come the end of it, but I think with the points gap at the moment, Kieran is in a good point. We're talking about Kieran Patterson. Kieran, welcome to the box. We got 5 minutes and 32 seconds left. What happened there, buddy? Walk us through what happened. You were miles ahead of the field. Next thing you were gone, and now you're in the pits. Give us a bit of an understanding of what happened. Kieran Patterson, can you hear me? I think Kieran may be running into a bit of mic trouble at the moment. He is a bit quiet. Kieran, if you can hear me, buddy, it looks like your microphone is out at the moment. You're not coming through. Okay, so while Kieran Patterson is sorting that out, I'm sure he's also keeping an eye on his teammates running first and second at the moment. And some really, really good pace out there. Paolo even going and shouting from the grandstands at some good pace. Mark Hanbury lying in 8th. 9th is Rian van der Race, and Ruan Cilias lying in 10th position as they charge their way through. And yeah, we are going and fighting it out for 8th, 9th, and 10th position as it stands. Caldervit now pulling into the pits, and Benham coming into the pit, so Sean will be getting himself sorted out. Will he fix the car to get himself going, or will he go and let the car stay as is to try and make up some time? So we've got 4 cars, well, 2 cars that are still needing to get into the pits, and that is Daniel de Villiers, and it does look like Miller as well. And it's 10 seconds gap between the two of them. They will be contemplating when is going to be the right time to pull in the pits and get themselves sorted out. Mark Hanbury and Ruan van der Race and Ruan Cilias. But let's see if Kieran Patterson is back. No, looks like he is out. So Kieran Patterson just having a little bit of technical issues there, and I think he is keeping the main focus on the race at hand during the course of that. But thank you, Kieran, for popping in. Unfortunately, a little bit of problems in terms of technical, but it's good to see that you are keeping an eye on the action. Thank you very much, Alan, as well, for letting me know out on the Discord that he has joined. Right, track getting a bit greasy in the final 3 minutes of the race. Ruan Cilias and Rian van der Race are closing down, but the track has become greasy. It is not enough for wet tires. It's not enough for the dries. This is going to change out the game. We got Kieran Patterson back. Kieran, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
There we go. We got Kieran Patterson. Kieran, quick one. You're out in front, and what happened that's now put you in the box?
Yeah, unfortunately, internet is not on our side tonight. So it was fine during practice, qualifying, everything was all okay. Halfway through the race, and then yeah, it kind of just gave up on us.
Well, you've got enough points, thankfully, in the bag to have these little bit of rough races. It's never a good thing to have, but your teammates currently out on the circuit running first and second at the moment. Track has just become a bit greasy out there. Rain's starting to come down. 1 minute and 56 seconds. SES has closed right up onto the back of Miller. So I think what I'm going to do is not keep you too much here, because I'm sure that you want to get back and chatting to Miller and try and help him out through the situation. But I'll chat to you after the race if you have a bit of time. But I think maybe your teammate needs a bit of backup.
Sure, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Matt. All right, well, Kieran Patterson just giving a quick insight to what happened, but he's got SES right behind him. SE going to put the charge and try and break up this happy little reunion of a first and second. He's trying his might as Miller goes around the outside, goes around the inside, trying to hold back SE. And De Villiers, who's now opened that 12-second gap. Oh, Miller getting that snap. And we know Miller wasn't so strong in the rain with qualifying. Hopefully he can keep it all together. 1 minute left, and we've got Johan Kleinans going and saying, yes, finally, some very tricky conditions out there. Mark Hanbury keeping ahead of Ruan Cilliers at the moment as well, so they are going to fight it out between the lots. So this is going to be interesting. Miller doing everything he can to try and keep up the pace as they fight their way through the order, as SES will go side by side, diving down to the wire, and Miller trying to hold that inside line. He's going to push wide, does force Essie a little bit wide to try and kill his drive. Essie does keep on the power. As we just heard from Jim, Daniel De Villiers, our leader, is on the final lap, which means it is 1 lap to go, second and third. We have got rain coming down. Track is greasy. This is a fight. This is make or break. This is going to be either you got it or you don't. Has Lady Luck been in your pits? Have you got Murphy? Has your competitor now got enough in the tank to get past you? These tires have been used to death on the cars. They have not changed tires on both cars, so they have got no rubber because they have been abused through the race. And it's come down to this, where every bit counts. Miller holding the inside line as he tries to fight his way through into Stowe. Esty trying to go around the outside. Will he have enough? Miller does straighten out a little bit contact with Esty as he straightens out into the door there. As a hard break hard into club. Little bit of trying to force a bit of a mistake out. Essie's going to keep up the pressure onto Miller, who seems to be feeling it down the Hamilton straight as they fight their way through. Really not giving up into Abbey. Essie's going to go around the outside once again. He's going to try lock it in. Miller doing everything he can to just keep ahead as they go into Village. Essie's going to try for a little bit of a cutback through the loop. Turn 15. It is all on the cards for them. Running out of time. Darren Miller on the charge. SES has got the toe as they make their way down the Wellington Straight. This is going to be all about straight line. Miller trying to go to the center of the circuit. Is he going to look up around the outside through Brooklands? He's going to try close down. Miller gets sideways, gets a bit of a tank slapper, and I think that has done it. But as he digs in a little bit too deep, they are running side by side through Luffield. It is going to be a charge through Woodcote, but I think Essie has done enough to steal second place through the second last corner of the race. One mistake going and changing up the race entirely. So Daniel de Villiers taking first place away. SESA is taking second place. Darren Miller in third. So close. Phenomenal racing on their part. Hardest taking fourth place. Ruan Cilliers coming across the line in fifth place. Sixth is Mark Hambry, followed by Rem van der Race, Carl de Witt, Johan Krubler, Charles Darden, Johan van der Merwe, Sean Benham, Vessel Wooder, Kerry Duplessis, Michael Schultz, Keegan Saunderson, and Kieran Patterson rounding out our field here tonight for the ZRC round 4 at Silverstone. Man, my voice is gone with that fight. What a run. Congratulations to the drivers. And the rain coming down at the last little bit did change the race completely in that aspect. Wow. So, mind blown right now on that race. Shingos, if that doesn't get you your hair standing on the end and standing at the edge of your seat saying, shouting, screaming, going and willing the guys to have that fight. Second place coming down to the second last corner on the last lap to break the race. I mean, incredible stuff. So, that being said, let's take a look at some of the race highlights for tonight as we move into it. So, taking a look at the racing at hand, our AMs are still fighting out. So, ladies and gentlemen, our AMs are still out on the circuit. We're going to share the link to them, and for everyone that's here for the pros, please also tune in and give our AMs a bit of support as they still got 10 minutes of racing in the rain at this point. Wow. Okay, right. Let's bring in first place. Daniel de Villiers to have a chat with us, and then we will move into our second place and third place. So, Daniel, the Hitman de Villiers, wow, what a race for you. Starting out in second, all going well. Then your teammate has a disconnect, so that does move you up into first place. Then it was a charge down to the line. How are you feeling? You've taken the checkered flag. You have finally, after so long, broken the camel's back and got back to the front end of the field.
Sorry, Stephen. Can you say that first part again? Just the name.
Let's get it right then. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for your round 4 winner, taking first place at Silverstone for the ZRC GT3 Championship Season 1 goes to Daniel de Villiers, crossing the line in greasy conditions. The long awaited after months and months. For anyone that doesn't know, Daniel's been fighting for this for months on end, and the amount of stressing and conversations in the background, you finally did it. You've broken a bad streak that has been around for, I would say, roughly 5 months of racing.
I've no idea how long it has been, but this is not a deserved win. My teammate had a disconnect, unfortunately. So I'll dedicate this win to him for having a disconnect.
Okay, you say not a deserved win. I'm gonna dispute you on that one. You still finished. You still raced. You still overcome adverse conditions right at the end. In my book, you did it. You didn't just park off and come in first place. You had to earn it there. You had quite a race. I mean, take us through that starting in second place and life getting a little bit busier.
Well, and so the start, me and Kieran locked out the front row, and I got a good getaway for turn 1, and we communicated that we were going to play the team game so we don't mess up each other's race and lose time to the guys behind and so on. We both were on different setups for the race, and he just pulled along. I think I've lost grip a quarter through the race, so I just had to manage from there on and see what I can salvage from second place still. So, and then Kieran with the disconnect unfortunately got me to first place, but I don't feel well about the win. It's not well deserved. I need to fight for a win.
Fair enough. That the fighting spirit comes in, and Kieran was providing a bit of overhead support as well. How was that having a spotter with you for the part of the race?
Well, it worked actually well out for everyone. Keegan was also in the pits as he didn't finish his race, unfortunately. But with him having us there, giving us all the info, the lap times, and where more grip is on the track, when's the rain coming, and so on. It's good to have crew members to help out on their disadvantage, you know. So it's good. It's great actually.
All right. Well, like and always, we're going to do it, but this time I'm going to put a bit of a spin on it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to hear on the microphone, open mic, but keep it PG. You're allowed to throw a little bit of spice in if you want for Daniel the Hitman de Villiers taking the win tonight, right here at ZRC for round 4, season 1 of the ZRC GT3 Championship. So, to the winner of the race, the microphone is yours.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to you, Stephen, for commentating in the race and keeping us in positive spirits, and for Essie for the league, a successful league so far in my eyes, and then for Alan as well for the support and the trust in us for representing his team and everything, and to my teammates, thank you for being there and, you know, backing us up, each other and supporting each other. Thank you.
Absolutely incredible. Well, thank you very much, Daniel. I'm going to leave you be for that one, and we're going to bring in your teammates as well for the rest of the chat. So, bringing in Anushka for coming and having a chat with us. Anushka, welcome to the commentary box. I'm bringing you into this one because I've got to explain this before we bring the story in. It came down to the final lap, second last corner. We had a change for second place. I mean, that was some of the closest racing we've seen. I wanted to bring you up to speed on it because we're going to bring both second and third in. That came down to that, and we saw that you were in the rain. We were actually in the dry until the final 2 minutes of the race. So it was a bit of a change up on that side. So we're going to bring in Darren Miller and SES for this one. So coming into the box, we have got Darren Miller and SES. I'm going to start off with our third place, Darren Miller from PWSR. Darren, a phenomenal run off the start when it was all dry. You had the drive, you clawed the positions back, and you were on a charge to the front end. Congratulations on that. How are you feeling with the race? I mean, the final 3 minutes, you had no room to breathe at that point.
It was Stephen. It was a good race in the first few laps. At the start, I managed to pick up about 3 or 4 places, and then just about managing the tires, to the end. And then at the end, coming out the pits with Essie right behind, that was that made it very interesting.
And
difficult.
Now, it seems like you're better in dry conditions to the wet. Is that true?
No, partly, but I had pressure loss in all 4 tires before my pit stop. But it was too much. You couldn't change tires going into the end there. So when I came out, I had pressures of about 22, 23.
Oh, okay. So you were on the rim.
I was struggling.
You were on the rim. Fair enough. Yeah. Explains when the conditions got greasy, you slipped, you slide, you went around.
Yeah.
That did change up the fight. So with that, I mean, phenomenal racing from the commentary seat here and from the guys in the grandstands. There's not a single person that's sitting down at the moment. You guys had a phenomenal run. How was that fight for you, going and duking it out right to the end?
Brought out my go-kart tactics there. Slow into the corner and extremely slow out.
Fair enough. I beg to differ on that one, but well done. And with that, we've got third place in the box as well that's been listening to the interview. Essie says, Essie, I mean, a race that you tapered off at the start of the race. You just kept a bit of spacing. End of the race, could you expect what happened? I mean, suddenly seeing that Kieran is out of the race, you're now moving up into third place, and you've got Darren Miller ahead of you, which is within arm's reach. Did you ever see this coming?
No, actually, the race was actually a complete shambles, because we were mostly expecting a wet race, but then for some reason we had a dry start, and then indications were that we will have some rain. So I didn't fill up the car fully for the whole race. So bargaining on the fact that somewhere in the race we'll get rain, and if you have to change tires, then it's pointless carrying a lot of weight and fuel around if you're going to change tires in any case. So that didn't work out at all. So we ended up with slicks right to the end when they started drizzling and getting all greasy. I wasn't expecting... I was watching the relatives, and I saw Darren and Daniel. They were very far ahead, and I thought to myself, no, okay, we'll just settle down. We'll settle for third place. And then when they went in the pits and I came down the start-finish straight, I just saw, okay, listen, something's happening. And then when I came out of the pits, I saw this yellow and white Porsche right next to me, and I say, okay, this is like a repeat of last week in Barcelona, where we had the same thing, where they came out of the pits and right into the mix with us. But I must say, some phenomenal driving from Darren those last few laps. I think it's all about respect, and you can easily ruin it for both of you if you don't take that extra bit of caution and just have that respect on the track. But it was some awesome battling, just inside, outside. He made it so difficult. And that last corner, I had absolutely no grip. I was hanging out there on the outside, and I'm just waiting for this car to come through on the inside, because that Porsche did not want to turn that last corner. But somehow we got through, and that was probably one of my nicest battles that I've ever had. So congrats to Darren as well for racing hard but racing clean. That's always nice to see.
Well done to both of you. Darren Miller on the third place, Essie on the second place. Essie just going and breaking up the little honeymoon of the PWSR. But I know we've got... Now, before I let you guys go, a quick one. You're allowed to have an open mic. You can add a bit of spice, but remember, keep it PG. And I'm going to say, Darren, anything you want to say to Essie or the rest of the field, or out there to anyone in the grandstands?
See you next week, man.
Yeah, see you next week.
Hope for more of the same.
Yeah, just let me know what your pit strategy is next week, and I'll make sure to miss it.
No choice.
I absolutely love it. SESO is from ZRC, and Darren Miller from PWSR. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us in the commentary.
Steven.
We're going to interview the AMs now. And,
yeah, let's hear what they have to say.
Let's hear what they have to say. So, as we've got the guys moving out, let's bring in our AMs, starting off with third place, which goes to Sava. And Sava, welcome to the commentary box. Good to have you here. And Anushka was live streaming your guys' race, and I take a look over to the stream and see that it's raining out there.
Yeah, it's
third,
the whole race.
But third place, how are you feeling with that one?
Oh, pretty good. Not gonna lie. I mean, last to third, I'll take that every day.
A drive to always remember and always push. It's great to see. The conditions a bit tricky out there. What was it like to drive in the rain? We had dry racing right until the end of our race, with the final 3 minutes in the pro actually landing up with a bit of wet conditions. You guys had the other way around, where it was just wet. How was it being in the wet at Silverstone?
Well, I mean, I must admit that was pretty much the most stressful race. I said to myself from the beginning, I just need to keep it clean, keep it between the lines, just get that consistency going, and we'll get good results. And it paid off. So it was nerve-wracking, definitely.
Well done on the race, and congratulations on finishing on such a phenomenal position. like always, we always like to have a bit of an open mic. You can keep it, just keep it PG, but you're allowed to throw a little bit of spice out there. You don't have to be the nicest guy the whole time. You're allowed to make things a bit more fun. But open mic is yours if you would like to say anything to your competitors or to the crowd that has been watching you both live and in the future.
Well, it's easy. Chris, I'm coming for you.
There we go. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Sav, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and look
thanks,
forward to
Stephen.
hearing all the
Thanks,
chats a little bit
Anushka.
later.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. All
the
right.
best.
Oh, Sav having a great run there. But let's bring in our second place, Anushka. Let's bring in Anthony Wilson. Anthony Wilson from Logistical Nightmare Racing. What a race for you. Second place. Only a couple of seconds behind first place, but in the wet the whole way through in the Aston Martin. How are you feeling with this?
Yeah, Steve, very chuffed, to be fair. Well done to Chris and Savo. I thought they ran really good races. As they say, blind squirrel sometimes can find an acorn, so yeah, happy with second.
Oh, incredible stuff. And I mean, from your side, the wet conditions at Silverstone, how did it feel for you being out there in those very adverse conditions?
Loved it. I was just telling Wilfred earlier on that I hope it rains the whole race. So yeah, enjoyed that thoroughly.
Well, it was an incredible run, and congratulations on the second place. It does score you in good stead for your championship at this point, moving you up through the order. So what's the game plan heading into the next round?
Yeah, just take it as it comes, I suppose. Looking forward to Nürburgring. I enjoy the track, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And like always, we're going to have an open mic. You're allowed to say anything you want to the competitors, to the crowd out there. Just keep it PG. We do have a couple of kids watching, but open mic, you're allowed to throw a bit of spice in if you want. We already had a bit of spice from Sab saying he's coming for you guys, so I don't know if there's anything you want to say in return.
Yeah, bring it on, Sam. But to be fair, I think it's a really nice series that you guys have got going here, and I just want to say thanks to my team. It's important.
Well done to the Logistical Nightmare team. Well done to Anthony Wilson. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, Anthony. Well done on the second place, and we'll see you next week for the Nürburgring.
Perfect.
All right, and with Anthony out, let's bring in our first place and our last interview of the evening. This is Crystals. Chris, how are you feeling taking the win at Silverstone in the wet and had to really fight it out? 26 laps of racing around this very, very difficult circuit.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Pace was really strong for the entire race. Had a good start, and then I knew it was just about keeping it clean, not making any mistakes. And yeah, really happy with the race overall. And I'm sure they'll be back next time, but I hope I can bring the fight to them in the Nürburgring.
Oh, I'm sure you can. And this has actually helped you out on the championship points a little bit. You're managing to climb through the order. What's the mentality going forward now that you've scored this win? You've done it in some of the worst conditions on a track that is extremely difficult. Heading into the next round of racing, is there a bit of a change of mindset of, okay, what do I need to do to keep up this pace, or what's the plan?
Yeah, obviously I missed the first round of the championship, lost some points there, so now it's about catching up. The win obviously boosts the chances, so just going to keep pushing. Obviously takes a lot of confidence into the next race with the win, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And you know, Chris, we've had everyone going and giving their thoughts and their chats with the racing at hand, but from your side, is there anything you would like to say? You can keep it PG, as I said. You can add a bit of spice if you want to, if you putting it out there. Your competitors already said, keep an eye out in rearview mirrors. We're coming for you. So there's no backing out of it. But your thoughts into that, and you're more than welcome to shout out to anyone out there in the airwaves at the moment or in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, you know, they're competitors, but they're also friends. So, yeah, thanks for pushing me, and hope I can keep up the challenge. And then also just want to give a shout out to my girlfriend. Thanks for watching the stream, babe. And to my friend Jason, who was also there through the entire race, keeping me honest. So, yeah, thanks.
Well, what's your girlfriend's name? That's your problem.
Michaela.
All right,
Yeah.
so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give Michaela a massive round of applause for going and supporting Chris in this one. Michaela, thank you very much for joining in, and looking forward to seeing her come and chat. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to have a couple joining in the racing. Is that on the cards, Chris?
She's not the biggest racing fan, but she supports me regardless. So I love you, babe. Thanks for that. I don't think she'll be racing, but maybe one day, you know, maybe I can convince her.
You owe her a cup of coffee, mate, or a cappuccino. Oh, we'll be heading into the
100%.
autumn time, so, you know, maybe a pumpkin spice.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks so much. Eh?
All right. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. Well done on that first place for our AMs. Well, Anushka, that brings us to the end of the race. It seems like we've had some exciting times. We've had the drama. We've had the excitement leading into this race. Anything from your side that you would like to say to anyone out there in the airwaves, or even to the guys watching in the future?
Thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for a nice race. It was good fun. Got a bit busy closer to the end. But yeah, the guys had fun, even though it was in the rain.
Oh, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give Anushka a massive round of applause. This is her, if I'm correct, this is your fourth time ever doing, well, would be your third time actually, ever doing the streams. So it's the third time you ever done the streams, and third time actually being on air for it. So from my side, congratulations, well done, hats off to you, and thank you for all the hard work that you're putting in behind the scenes of it. Now I know that you've done that. You've got to get yourself a cup of coffee, and Viertia, I know, is going to be limping around after that race of having to push himself a little bit harder. Anushka Botha, everyone, thank you very much, Anushka, for joining us this evening. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to you, everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us with tonight's race. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like if you enjoy the racing, and go and put us in the comments what was your favorite part of the race for both our AM and our Pro right here at ZRC for round 4 of our GT3 Championship Season 1. Next race, we will be heading out to the Nürburgring to go and fight it out, and we're really looking forward to seeing how that's going to turn out. Lots of drivers super excited for that one. I can tell you personally, I'm excited for the circuit because it is one of my enjoyable circuits, except I turn left to go on to the Nordschleife. I don't really carry on with the GP circuit, but we'll see you next week, same time, same place, right here at Zodiac Racing. And like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.